Hello again, it's Stephen. So I'm going to dedicate this stream to 5 people, to GrimGriz for teaching me how to pray, for CW Weeks for insisting on a mechanics of the divine, for Luke Thompson for dogged insistence on personalism and universalism, to Shari Suter for knocking down the Tower of Babel that that was beginning to be built, and my godmother Amy for insisting I leave YouTube's up for more than 3 days. So thanks, guys. So more thinking on yesterday's about this continued idea about the observer and about the quantum and about the many worlds that the Schrodinger equation insists exist because the probabilities of quantum outcomes that lead to thermodynamic realities can't be wished away. They can be equated away, but you have to add things to an equation that is the most accurate equation that we have in all of science. So it seems to me a shame. Why would you alter the things? And you do it for the engineering sake. You do it to get on with it. But okay, so quantum events in reality have probabilities associated with outcomes, and I've been saying how when an observer, or he sets up an experiment and observes an outcome, that the probability universe, or the probability that leads to the universe of that particular outcome, is the universe that you are then living in. But all the other probabilities still exist. The relationality does not go away. The relationality remains. It just remains separated from you. You are existing in the outcome that you observed from your experiment, and but all the others still exist. It's just how you've forced them into a separation of multiple universes. So this idea of the multiverse, or the many worlds, is a result of this. And then because it's these multiverses, these universes are all built on quantum probabilities, and because probabilities are relational, are by definition, then we have this wonderful sort of created pure relationality that exists in our world, and part of my project here is to equate that to a theology, and we think of God as this uncreated agent whose mission is love, and love is a purely relational thing. So it's nice to have a created relationality that we can look to, that we have discovered, that we can say, here we have a pure relational. And then, of course, I also have the gravity has not been quantized, and so gravity, I like to think of it also as a pure relational thing. And until we have the quantization of gravity, until we have the quantization of space-time into discrete units, which we do not have yet, but it's hypothesized, Planck length and Planck energies and all these things. But most of science is suspecting that gravity will be quantized, so I had to abandon that as my created relationality, and so we have this this quantum many worlds, purely relational, driven by probabilities of a quantum world that leads to our thermodynamic world. So that's like a brief recap. But there's a big problem in that, and I was thinking about this yesterday, and I don't know why I didn't see it sooner. But there's a big problem in that, and then it's not that an observer, observe it. It's that quantum events get entangled. They get entangled with the thermodynamic universe that we're living in. So a quantum event happens. It's a very simple low dimensional occurrence. But as that occurrence propagates into our thermodynamic world, into our time-driven world, things from our time-driven world, like say a photon that's been bounced off a wall, it goes and impinges on this whatever the outcome of the quantum event is, a neutrino or whatever, and they become entangled. We have this idea of quantum entanglement. When two quantum particles interact, they become entangled with each other. So the quantum event occurs, and it's occurring in our thermodynamic space. Our thermodynamic space has all sorts of things going on that are then going to interact with that very simple quantum event, and the quantum event becomes entangled in this much more complex, much higher dimensional world, time-driven world that we live in. So it's called decoherence in physics, and decoherence pretty much says, stop thinking of yourself as special, you human observer. These things happen due to the nature of the thermodynamic universe, the time-driven universe that we are in. So somehow we don't really know how decoherence happens, but we know that it does, and I think we know that occurs even without an observer. For a long time, it was, well, the observer causes a problem. Maybe it's the psychological space or something like that. But we now know that it's not that we in particular are observing with it. It's that the apparatus of our observation, the device that we're using to observe, is becoming entangled with the quantum event. The photon bounces off the apparatus and hits the neutrino created by the quantum event, and there you go. You've got entanglement, and you've got this simple lower dimensional quantum event being entangled with a much higher dimensional thermodynamic reality. And I had talked a while about de Sitter space, how de Sitter space was large enough to accommodate all of the worlds, all of the universes created, all of the all those separate different realities that happen, each traveling along its probability after a quantum event. And it's not that it's observed, it's after the quantum event decoheres in entanglement with a higher dimensional space. And in the case of us, we have de Sitter space, which is it's beyond higher dimensional. It's near infinite. And this is all interesting because if you go back to my first videos that I was making when I came in, I was talking about this, how the world that we live in, the thermodynamic world, is projected from a simpler world, and we have this, two-dimensional photos are projected, and they impinge on each other in a higher dimensional space, and they form a hologram. And so I was going on and on about how this room is set up to create a hologram of liturgical space. So these these icons that I have behind me and they're all around me are creating a liturgical space, a holy space in the room, and they're projecting from their lower dimensional reality. They're very simply drawn. That's part of the indication of lower dimensional reality. And they're forming a higher dimensional idea, liturgy in the room. And so we have the same thing, it seems, in quantum physics. How does the quantum lead to the thermodynamic, this gigantic problem that's never been solved? But what if it's simply that the quantum is the lower dimensional projector, and it becomes, as it's projected into our space, it becomes entangled with our space and becomes a hybrid of the original quantum event and the space. So it becomes completely entangled. It becomes essentially one of the outcomes. The entanglement leads to one of those probability outcomes. It's not that we are looking at it and the probability outcome happens. It's that the higher dimensional reality of our time-driven thermodynamic world is entangling with the simple quantum event and forming and forcing the quantum event, and the quantum event, whatever state it's in when the entanglement happens, becomes the probability universe that you're living in. The other universes still all exist. We haven't gotten rid of many worlds. We can't touch those other worlds because they're relational things. I'll go back to that. They're completely relational things. So there is no measurement. There is no touching them. They're just associated with us in this way. So it's a hard concept, I guess, probably to get. But yeah, the decoherence leads to entanglement in our higher dimensional reality, and the lower dimensional quantum event projects itself as a hologram, you might say, into our higher dimensional reality. So this has very nice theological implications, because if in Christianity we think of the Holy Spirit, and if we think of the Holy Spirit, well, first of all, we can think of the Trinity in the Trinitarian Christianity, and I would posit it as for the project of maximum love to occur, you have to have two persons involved, and you have to have the relational love between them, and so we have the Father and the Son as the two objects of relation, and then we have the Holy Spirit as the relational activity of love between the two. And you could say that in the case of the birth of Jesus Christ, it's the decoherence of the Trinity into a Son that becomes entangled, you could say, with the Virgin Mary. And leads to this God-man, right? This God-man of Jesus Christ, where you have you can see that sort of as an entanglement, as a project of bringing God's relational activity into our created world by entangling the hypostasis, which we call it, but it's simply the quantum probability states of the Trinity into the arrival. So that's not well thought out. I'm just saying that. And then of course we have the idea that when you're baptized, the Holy Spirit comes into you, and if you see the Holy Spirit as this sort of quantum probability of the Trinity, decohering. In the case of the Holy Spirit, it's not decohering into a single entity. It decoheres it in a way that decoheres into all of us. So as the Holy Spirit comes into you during baptism, it becomes its probability state becomes a part of you through this decoherence and through this entanglement. You become entangled with the Holy Spirit, and that's. There's no way to untangle that. And the Orthodox Church, anyway, is very insistent. One baptism, that one baptism, and you only get one baptism. You can go from another faith to Orthodoxy, but you're going to be chrismated, not baptized. The baptism is the entrance of the Holy Spirit, and if you want to think of it in physical terms, you can think of it as a decoherence of the probabilistic Trinity into your physical being. You physically become entangled with the Holy Spirit. So that's a lot, and this is new. So I haven't really completely thought through all the implications of what I'm talking about, but it seems to me that it's a much more robust way of connecting physics to theology than any of the ways that I was going in before I realized that first of all that the many worlds is a purely relational thing, and so I didn't need gravity to be my created relationality. That the many worlds are basically God saying, look, if you didn't believe in my love, and if you found it hard to follow the laws, and if faith became difficult to do because of the Enlightenment, then I built you in a way that could lead to machines that lead you to understand this other form of pure relationality of many worlds, and that if you evolve into that thing that you are built to become, then you will understand my love not only through direct association with it, and if you don't see that, well, you can use your instruments to discover decoherence of quantum states and to entangled systems from the quantum to the thermodynamic, and as pure relational things, you can say, well, here's a signpost to God that relationality is ultimately the world that we occupy. That's the highest state, is this highest state of the relationality of God's love, of the love of the two persons of the Trinity, and then of the love of the Holy Spirit entering you, and through the decoherence and through entanglement, entangling you into God's love. So probably should leave it there and think about it more, and make sure that these things are who knows. I mean, if it's anything like it's been the last few days, this will continue to evolve. But that's pretty cool. It's really feels really settled. So again, thanks to those the five GrimGriz and CW Weeks, and to Luke Thompson, and to Amy, my godmother, and to Shari for toppling my little Tower of Babel into a condescension of the Holy Spirit to to fill me with God's love. Thanks.